A snowstorm grounded hundreds of flights, but one woman's simple act would send shockwaves through a billionaire empire. Danielle "Danny" Carter adjusted the strap of her duffel bag as she stepped past the crowded gate signs inside Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Her boots clicked softly against the slick linoleum floors, the terminal abuzz with travel-weary passengers, checking weather apps and muttering into phones. Outside, snow whipped against the glass in thick, ghostly swirls, one of those rare southern storms that brought everything to a halt. Danny, a Damau woman in her mid-30s, moved through the tension like she was built for it. In a way, she was. Years of being mistaken for the assistant in rooms she engineered had taught her to keep her posture tall and her voice measured. But that didn't mean she wasn't exhausted by delay, by expectation, by everything unsaid. She scanned for an outlet and a moment of peace, ducking behind a pillar near gate A17 where the crowd thinned slightly. That's when she saw him. A man in a charcoal gray coat sat beside the window, his wheelchair positioned between two mismatched chairs. His posture was upright, military almost, but his eyes were distant, watching nothing and everything all at once. She recognized the look, someone who'd been through enough to stop pretending. His fingers rested on the armrests, twitching slightly, with what looked like controlled frustration. The left wheel of his chair was angled awkwardly, rubber slightly peeled, catching on the polished floor. Without thinking, Danny walked over. "Need a hand?" The man looked up, surprised. Most people looked past him, not at him. "Yeah," he said after a pause. "Left wheel keeps catching. This floor hates me." She knelt, brushing snowmelt from the metal frame. "Looks like the axle's misaligned. Probably debris." Her fingers moved with ease. She wasn't a wheelchair tech, but she knew mechanics. "You an engineer?" he asked. She didn't look up. "Kind of. Aerospace. I work with drones mostly." Then, brushing off her palms, she stood. "Push forward while I hold this steady." He did. The chair shifted, straightened. Something between them clicked into place, not just the wheel. "Thanks," he said. "Logan Whitmore." She hesitated, then extended her hand. "Danielle Carter. People call me Danny." He blinked, something flickering in his expression when she said her name. It passed too quickly to catch. "You look like you could use a break, too," he offered, nodding to the chair beside him. She didn't usually take up random invitations, especially not at airports. But something about Logan's tone, more observation than request, nudged her to sit. They watched the snow in silence for a minute. Then he said, "That necklace. It's unusual. Looks old." She reached up instinctively, fingertips brushing the pendant at her collarbone. "It was a gift," she said firmly, the kind of firm that says, "Don't ask more." But he did gently. "From someone important." She turned to him and for the first time really looked. "Yes, but he's gone." Logan nodded once, then looked away. But she noticed the way his jaw clenched, how his eyes didn't return to the window. Something about her answer had landed. Across the terminal, Danny caught a white man in a business suit glancing at her. His gaze lingered not just on her face, but on her skin, her stance, like he was trying to calculate how a Damau woman looked that confident in this space. Logan noticed it too. "That guy has a problem," he muttered under his breath. Danny shrugged. "Ignore it." "I do," Logan replied. "But you shouldn't have to." She blinked. Most people didn't bother saying that part out loud. A silence settled between them, not awkward, just heavy. She pulled out her laptop, launching the CAD model of her prototype drone system. Logan leaned closer. "That's yours, built it from scratch. My firm's pitching it tomorrow. Wildfire relief search and rescue. If they fund us, we scale." He studied the screen. "You built that? and you're sitting here like everyone else." She smirked, tired. "The world doesn't hand out respect just because you're competent, especially not to women like me." Logan didn't interrupt. She continued, her tone even. "I walk into rooms where they think I'm the assistant. Security pulls me aside more often. I've learned to keep my back straight and my voice calm. One misstep, and I'm a stereotype." He looked at her for a long second. "That's not right." "No," she said. "But it's real." Outside, the storm howled louder. "If you ever need an investor," Logan offered, "I know people who wouldn't underestimate you." Danny arched an eyebrow. "And why would you help me?" He didn't flinch. "Because someone helped me when I didn't deserve it." Something shifted in his voice, a crack of old pain or guilt. She stood, slinging her bag back over her shoulder. "Appreciate it. But I don't need saving. I didn't say you did." They locked eyes. Then she nodded and walked toward the vending machines, pretending she wasn't shaken. Logan stayed behind, watching the silver glint of her necklace under the cold, fluorescent lights. He knew that pendant. He'd seen it once, years ago, around Ethan's neck. It can't be. Seattle's rain didn't wash away secrets, it only made them easier to bury. The wheels of Logan's chair clicked against the wet pavement as Marcus Carter pulled the rideshare to the curb outside SeaTac Airport. It was past midnight. Streetlights flickered in the steady drizzle as steam curled from sewer grates. Danny Carter stepped out next, shrugging into her jacket. She paused beside her younger brother, watching Logan roll toward the trunk. "You sure this is the guy?" Marcus muttered, only half lowering his voice. Danny shot him a look. "Yes." Marcus was 23, wiry and restless, his hoodie pulled low over his brow glasses, fogging slightly in the mist. He was brilliant, no doubt about it, a coding savant, but skeptical by nature, especially when it came to strangers. "He's Ethan's brother," Danny added. Marcus froze, keys dangling from his fingers. "Excuse me, half-brother. Long story. I'll explain when we're not getting soaked." Inside the car, silence stretched uncomfortably until Logan, seated in the front, spoke up. "So you're the genius hacker who took down that facial ID scanner at Stanford?" Marcus blinked. "That was sealed." Logan smiled faintly. Not well. It was the first time Marcus cracked the smallest grin. The hotel they checked into wasn't flashy, just clean and quiet, tucked on a sleepy corner of downtown, near enough to Pike Place to smell salt and rain, but far from tourist noise. Their room overlooked an alley of brick walls and ivy. Inside the space was cramped, 2 twin beds, a pull-out sofa, and one small desk cluttered within minutes. Marcus unpacked his laptop and tools in seconds. Logan eased himself near the radiator. Danny slipped off her boots, pacing. The moment they were settled, she pulled the necklace from around her neck and handed it silently to Marcus. He took it, puzzled. "There's a data chip hidden in the clasp," she said. Marcus turned it over. Micro-nano. Like encryption built into the metal. "I didn't even know it was there," Danny said. "Logan saw it, said Ethan might have used it." Logan nodded. "Ethan kept backups of everything, but he trusted very few people. If he embedded something in that necklace, it wasn't for storage. It was a trigger." Marcus worked quickly, fingers flying across keys. He pried open a USB adapter, slid the necklace into place. Nothing. Then a soft chime. A small folder appeared on the screen. EW Obsidian. Marcus double-clicked. A video began to play. Ethan Whitmore appeared on screen, hunched forward in a shadowy room. His hair was longer, his voice hoarser. Behind him, the glow of monitors bathed the room in pale blue. "If you're watching this, it means I didn't make it," he said. "It means Evelyn found out." Danny stiffened. she'll tell the world I cracked, that I stole data, that I betrayed the company. But she's lying. Mortec's program Obsidian is real. It's not just surveillance. It's preemptive behavior modeling embedded in municipal drones, traffic cams, even mobile OS updates. They can predict who'll commit a crime before it happens and act on it. He leaned closer. My father, Samuel Carter, discovered this. He tried to warn people. They buried him, buried the truth. And if you're hearing this, they'll come for you too. The video ended. No password, no signature, just a cold stop. Danny's breath caught. Her mind reeled. The name she hadn't heard outside their family in over a decade. Samuel Carter, spoken by the man she'd loved, warning her from beyond the grave. Marcus said nothing. His jaw tightened. The air in the room shifted. You didn't tell me Ethan knew about Dad, he finally said, voice low. I didn't know, Danny whispered. He never said. You sure about that? Logan, watching them both, interjected. Ethan was protecting her. Probably thought if Danny didn't know she'd be safe. Or safer. No one's safe if that program exists, Marcus snapped. This is Minority Report on steroids. Danny sat on the edge of the bed, staring into her hands. I thought Ethan died in an accident, she said. No one even investigated. Because no one wanted to, Logan replied, not with Evelyn running the narrative. Marcus's eyes darted to the folder. There's more here. Schematics, payment logs, internal memos. He paused, then opened a secondary file, a court transcript. 2007. United States View, Samuel Carter. The name flickered on the screen like an accusation. This isn't just about Ethan, Danny said slowly. They destroyed my father for trying to do the right thing. Logan nodded. And now you have the chance to finish what he started. The rain ticked against the windows like a metronome, steady and unrelenting. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. All three froze. Danny stood slowly. Did you tell anyone we were coming? She asked Marcus. He shook his head. Logan reached into his coat, not for a weapon, but a slim black phone. He typed a command. A second knock followed, sharper this time. Room service, Marcus offered weakly. At 2:17 a.m., Logan replied. The room went still. Outside, another footstep sounded faint but deliberate. Danny stepped forward, one hand near the chain lock on the door. Wait, Logan said. He tilted his chair slightly, eyes narrowing toward the peephole. Don't open it, he said. Let's unplug and move. Now. Danny backed away as Marcus scrambled to pull the necklace from the adapter. The screen flickered off. Logan was already moving, chair angled toward the hallway. The knock came again. Harder. They had 5 seconds to decide, and 1,000 questions trailing behind them in the rain. Some secrets hide in data, others hide in people. The black SUV idled across the street, its headlights casting long shadows against the old apartment building on Capitol Hill. Rain slicked the pavement, making the night shine like a mirror. Danny Carter crouched beside a recycling bin in the alley, one hand braced on the cool brick wall, heart thudding from the sprint. Beside her, Marcus Carter adjusted the strap of his backpack, breathing heavily, but saying nothing. Logan Whitmore rolled silently between them, his chair whispering over the uneven concrete. They had left the hotel through a back stairwell, navigated a maintenance corridor, and taken a rideshare under a fake name. Now they stood outside a door with peeling paint, and the number 206 faintly stenciled in red. This is the guy Ethan trusted, Marcus whispered, skeptical as ever. Danny didn't answer. She knocked sharp and fast. Then again, 2 short raps, 1 long. The door opened with a cautious creak. Walter Green peered out the glow from inside, catching the wire rims of his glasses. He was in his 60s, white-bearded with the kind of tired eyes that suggested he'd seen too much and regretted even more. "You brought guests," he said to Danny. "We didn't have time to call ahead," she replied. "We think we were followed." Walter stepped aside. "Then let's not waste time on pleasantries." The apartment smelled like old books and soldering resin. Paper maps were taped to the walls, some with thumbtacks and colored string. Filing cabinets lined one corner. A chessboard sat half-played beside a cold cup of tea. Walter motioned them toward a battered couch and pulled the blinds tight. "Ethan told me if anything happened to him, someone would come wearing that necklace," he said, pointing to the chain now tucked beneath Danny's collar. "Didn't think it'd take this long." Danny sat forward. "We saw the video. Obsidian's real." Walter nodded grimly. "And bigger than you know. The version Ethan discovered. It was Phase 2. They're on Phase 4 now." He crossed the room and opened a metal lockbox, pulling out a flash drive and a manila folder. "He gave me these 6 weeks before he died. Said if someone showed up asking about Samuel Carter, I'd know they were legit." Marcus took the flash drive, already unzipping his bag. Danny opened the folder. Inside were printed emails, financial ledgers, and 2 names highlighted: Evelyn Whitmore and Charles Penn Mortex, legal counsel. Payments, off-record hardware acquisitions, even a contract with a private surveillance firm. He knew they were tracking civil rights groups, Walter said, through third-party contractors. Any activist flagged as disruptive, they monitored them under Obsidian. It started with predictive data, but they crossed into manipulation, creating patterns, planting signals to justify arrests. Danny flipped through the pages. Her father's name leapt out: Samuel Carter, not buried in footnotes, but in a full memo. Subject asset flagged: internal risk assessment required. They labeled him an internal risk, she murmured. Walter sighed. "Your father was the first person to see what Obsidian could become. He tried to go public. They used a bribery charge to shut him up. The court sealed most of it." Danny closed her eyes. He was silenced and discredited. Logan leaned forward. "My mother's legacy is built on this. Billions. But she didn't just build tech, she built a lie." Marcus looked up from his laptop. "I'm inside the drive. There's a second encryption. And, wait, these names. They're still active contractors. This isn't historical, it's ongoing." "Exactly," Walter said. "If you want to bring them down, you need more than a video. You need the original deployment logs, which means we go to Mortec." Logan finished quietly. Walter nodded once. "And you'll only get one shot." The room went still. "I can get us in," Logan said, eyes narrowing. "My badge still works in some wings." She never fully revoked access, probably thought I'd never dare use it. Danny stared at him. "You're seriously suggesting we break into the building of one of the world's most powerful tech firms?" "Yes," he said calmly. "Because if we don't, your father stays buried. Ethan stays erased, and Evelyn wins." Marcus rubbed his temples. "We'll need gear, a diversion, a clean exit." "I have someone," Logan said. "Ashley Reed, ex-Mortec Cybersec. She owes me. She can help from outside." Walter moved to the window and peeked through the blinds. Then his voice dropped. "We need to move. That SUV's still there. Engines on." Danny's stomach turned. "You think they know, I think they suspect. And suspicion's enough for people like Evelyn." She stood. "Let's go. We've got what we need. Let's not give them more." Walter packed the papers. Marcus slid the drive into his bag. Logan adjusted his wheels. As they moved toward the door, Danny caught her reflection in a cracked mirror by the hallway, hair damp from the rain jaw, set eyes clearer than they'd been in years. This wasn't just revenge. It was reclamation. Outside, the SUV headlights snapped off. "They're coming," Walter muttered. "Now or never." They slipped out the back, vanishing into the Seattle fog. Behind them, the quiet apartment full of secrets stood still for just a moment, then darkened as the power mysteriously cut. Justice sometimes requires breaking in before breaking through. The night had a chill to it sharp enough to bite through the collar of Danny Carter's jacket as she stepped out of the van parked 2 blocks from Mortex headquarters. The glass monolith towered above Seattle's South Lake Union District, its polished facade catching glints of moonlight between rolling fog. She pulled the hood tighter around her damo skin, well aware that she didn't blend easily in corporate spaces after hours. Logan Whitmore waited beside her, his wheelchair freshly charged, a dark windbreaker zipped to the chin. In the front seat of the van, Ashley Reed sat hunched over a laptop screens glowing with security feeds and code lines. Marcus Carter crouched beside her headset, snug fingers dancing over his keyboard like a concert pianist. "Side door panel will open in 10 seconds, Ashley murmured. "Old override's still working. I can't believe they haven't patched it." "Evelyn never believed anyone would have the guts," Logan said, voice low. "She underestimated who we are." Ashley glanced up, or who Ethan was. That name cut through the moment. Danny exhaled, then nodded to Logan. "Let's move." The service entrance clicked open with a soft hiss. No alarms, no flashing lights. Just a sterile hallway lit by recessed LEDs and lined with wall-mounted plaques praising innovation, sustainability, and tech with integrity. Danny almost laughed at the irony. She moved quickly, the rubber soles of her boots silent against polished tile. Logan followed beside her, wheeling smoothly memorized floor plans running through his head. "Camera dead zones every 30 feet, he whispered. "Stick close." Behind them, Ashley's voice crackled through their earpieces. "Elevators disabled. You'll need the maintenance ramp. It's 2 turns ahead." They turned corners fast, hearts racing but footsteps steady. Security presence was light, too light. Danny's instincts buzzed. "You sure they don't know?" she asked. "No active alert," Marcus replied. "But I've seen Evelyn's playbook. If she suspects, she waits, lets you dig your own grave." The ramp curved downward, steep and narrow. Logan led the way, controlling his descent with practiced ease. Danny followed, counting the seconds with her breath. They reached the basement level, the door to the server room looming ahead. Logan swiped his badge. The light blinked red, then green. Click. They were in. Rows of machines stood like silent sentinels in the low-lit space, their humming a chorus of heat and data. The air smelled of cold metal and ozone. Danny moved toward the console, plugging in the encrypted drive Walter had given them. "Starting extraction," she said. "Marcus, you seeing this?" "Yeah," he replied. "Obsidian Core logs, communications shell company links. My God, they were spying on school boards, housing activists, even union organizers." Ashley chimed in. "Pull local backups, too. If they try to wipe servers, we'll still have copies." Logan wheeled to the far wall, where glass partitions gave way to the executive security wing. He stared a moment, then reached inside his jacket and pulled out a small flash grenade, non-lethal, mostly light and sound. "Just in case," he muttered. Danny was about to respond when the temperature in the room seemed to drop. The elevator on the far end chimed. "That's not supposed to work," Marcus whispered in the comm. The doors slid open. A man stepped out. Tailored suit, close-cut beard, calm eyes. "Damian Cross," Logan said under his breath. "Evelyn's cleaner." Danny froze. "You know him? I watched him escort whistleblowers off the property." Then their lives fell apart. Damian approached, slowly, hands open. "This is a secure area. You shouldn't be here." "No kidding," Logan replied. Damien glanced at Danny. "I assume you're the one with the necklace." "No necklace now," she said flatly. "Just proof." Damien sighed. "You have no idea what you're interfering with. This isn't about you. It never was." "Then why did Ethan die?" Danny snapped. Damien's face tightened just for a second. He got too close. Evelyn warned him. She always warns once. Danny turned back to the console. 30 seconds left. Damien took a step forward. "You're making a mistake." "I've made plenty," Logan said. "But this won't be one." Without warning, he launched his wheelchair forward, slamming into Damien's leg with force. Damien stumbled, catching himself on a server tower. Danny grabbed the flash drive and yanked it free as alarms began to scream through the corridor. "Extraction complete," Marcus shouted. "Get out now!" Danny grabbed Logan's shoulder and turned him toward the ramp. Behind them, Damien was already rising, fury blooming across his face. They moved fast up the ramp through the hallways, hearts pounding, lights flashing red. At the service door, Ashley was waiting in the van's side door open. "Move, move, move," she yelled. They piled in. Tires screeched. The van peeled into the night, neon lights streaking across the windshield. Inside, no one spoke for a moment. Just the sound of breath, the quiet hum of stolen truth between them. Then Danny looked down at the drive in her palm. "We got it," she whispered. Ashley's voice came through the front. 2 minutes tops before they trace us." "Where to?" Logan looked at Danny. "You said you wanted truth to matter again." She nodded. "Then it's time to make it public. Sometimes the only way to reclaim your voice is to speak when the whole world's listening." The rooftop of the broadcast studio trembled under gusts of morning wind as the sun struggled through the Seattle mist. Danny Carter stood near the edge, staring out at the city that had buried her father's name, silenced Ethan's warnings, and tried to pretend she didn't exist. Her Dahmau skin gleamed in the soft light, not as something to hide, but as something finally, undeniably present. She turned slightly, her fingers grazing the chain at her neck, now restored steady above her heart. Inside, through the glass doors, Logan Whitmore watched her in silence. He was dressed plainly, no logos, no trace of the billionaire world he'd once been groomed for. Just a man with a story, and the power to make sure it was heard. "Are you ready?" he asked, wheeling toward her. Danny didn't turn. "I don't think people ever really feel ready to tell the truth. They just stop being afraid of the cost." She looked at him, then something calm and steeled in her gaze. "Let's do it," she said. They moved inside the small studio, local but widely syndicated, just big enough to matter. The producers had been reluctant until Ashley leaked the data to multiple outlets with a countdown clock. "This woman speaks in 30 minutes, or the internet hears it all." Evelyn Whitmore's empire didn't respond, not publicly, but in the background, PR firms scrambled and legal teams bristled. Too late. As the cameras warmed and the anchors adjusted their mics, Danny stood center stage, her breath steady despite the tremble in her knees. A technician counted her in 3, 2, 1. The red light blinked on. "My name is Danielle Carter," she began, voice even. "I am the daughter of Samuel Carter, a man accused of bribery and buried in disgrace. A man whose only crime was trying to stop a surveillance program designed to profile and suppress marginalized communities." She paused. "I am also the partner of Ethan Whitmore, who died under suspicious circumstances after trying to expose the same program. I wear this necklace because he gave it to me the day before he died, because he trusted me to carry what he couldn't." The camera didn't blink. Neither did she. Mortec's Obsidian project didn't just gather data, it shaped it. It targeted people of color, labor organizers, even school board members. It labeled voices like mine as threats before we ever spoke. Behind the camera, the room was still. No scripts, no cuts, just truth. I've spent most of my career being underestimated, she said, because of my gender, my background, and the color of my skin. I've watched rooms quiet when I enter. I've been asked if I was the assistant to teams I built. I've smiled through it, endured it, but I will not be silent about it. She looked directly into the lens. If you have ever been told to stay quiet for your own safety, this is your moment too. If you have ever lost someone to silence, this is their moment. The light dimmed. The broadcast ended. The studio burst into frantic chatter as producers swarmed, phones rang, and feeds refreshed. But Danny stood still. Logan came to her side. "You did it." "No," she said softly. "We did." In the hours that followed, chaos unfolded. Evelyn Whitmore released a statement denying all allegations. Within minutes, Ashley counterleaked the internal communications, confirming everything. Protesters began to gather outside Mortec headquarters. Investigative reporters dug through court records, and Samuel Carter's name began to trend not as a villain, but as a whistleblower. Later that afternoon, Danny received a call from the U.S. Attorney's Office. They were reopening the 2007 case. By nightfall, a candlelight vigil was held on the Capitol Hill steps. Logan and Danny watched from the sidewalk, standing together beneath the halo of street lamps. Dozens of people carried signs with names, some they knew, most they didn't. "Your father would be proud," Logan said quietly. Danny smiled, weary but real. "So would Ethan." She turned to Marcus, who stood beside them with a tablet still buzzing from messages. "You ready to go home?" He nodded. But this time he said, "We're going back as Carters, not as ghosts." As they walked away, Logan paused to look back at the flickering lights. "Truth takes time," he murmured. Danny nodded, her voice steady. "But it always finds the mic." The soft flicker of candlelight on the Capitol Hill steps lingered long after the crowds dispersed, casting long shadows across the damp Seattle pavement. In the hush that followed, Danny Carter stood not as a woman running from silence, but as a woman who had reclaimed it piece by piece through grief, courage, and truth. The wind that once carried whispers of her father's disgrace now carried a new kind of name, one rooted in justice. And somewhere in the hush of the night, the voices once erased had begun to speak again. Stories like Danny's don't end when the credits roll. They live quietly in the background of our own lives, in the clerk who's overlooked the mechanic whose accent draws suspicion, the neighbor whose skin tone still makes some pause. We are reminded that breaking injustice rarely looks like fireworks. More often, it looks like showing up, like asking questions, like helping a stranger with a jammed wheel and discovering you've set something greater in motion. Because justice isn't always loud, but it is always persistent. The lesson is simple but hard-earned. Don't judge by the surface, not by the badge on someone's chest, the shade of their skin, or the silence they've carried for years. Sometimes the ones the world overlooks are the ones holding its missing pieces, and sometimes those pieces form a truth too powerful to stay buried. It takes talent to rise. It takes perseverance to speak. But it takes heart and an unshakable sense of right to stand firm when the world asks you to back down. And maybe, just maybe, the next time we meet someone different from what we expect, we'll remember Danny. We'll remember Logan. And we'll remember that some of the most extraordinary reckonings begin not with rage, but with kindness offered in an airport terminal. So tonight, if you find yourself near a window, let the light from a passing car or a neighbor's porch lamp remind you, even in the darkest seasons, a quiet act of truth can guide us home. If this story stirred something in you, consider passing it along to someone who needs a reminder that their voice matters and their story isn't over.